This is the championship finale of the RaceKraft V8 Veterans Championship Season 25. This is Split 1, Round 10, final round of the season with a three-way championship hanging in the balance. 150 kilometers of Sachsenring will decide the RaceKraft V8 Veterans Championship, and to cover all of it live here on SimSpeed TV, I'm David Haynes with Brock Cadday and Daniel Yeaman. Brock, it's been an exciting season. We've had multiple race winners, but there are three drivers with a real chance of being this season's champion.
That is exactly right, David. Great to be back here for the final round of the V8 Vets. It is going to be a hotly contested one out there. As you said, three drivers are in it here at Sachsenring. And we're going to have a little look at the track here before we get into the nitty-gritty of the championship fight, which there is plenty to cover before we go racing tonight. We'll have a little zoom in here. Sachsenring is a really interesting little circuit that I personally don't have a lot of experience with, but just having a couple of laps this afternoon, see a lot of character in it and a lot of ability to fight, run side by side, test that technical handling of the cars and how these guys have handled the fixed setup here. Located in, we're going to give this a try, Hohenstein-Ehrenstahl, Germany. Opened as a street circuit in 1927, but it's in its current form as a permanent track since 1996. 3.6 kilometers in length with 13 turns anti-clockwise directions. So, guys got a lot ahead of them here. Have you got any quick facts for me, David?
No, I reckon you got pretty close to the pronunciation there on that one. So, super twisty through that first part of the racetrack, but you can see it opens up a little bit more through turns 11, 12, and 13, and I'm guessing that passing is going to mainly happen into that turn 1.
Yeah, I think you're right there, David. It's going to be a bit of a game of setting up these passes, particularly through those technical sections, those the Coca-Cola curve, Castrol Omega and Sternquell. There's going to be a lot of patience needed to get to the longer straights and those better passing opportunities throughout the lap here. So last round of the championship, though, will that patience be there, or are we going to be in a wriggle one? It's a short one here tonight as well. That 150-kilometre format is just about the shortest we see all season, so they're going to be wanting to make moves quickly.
And what that gives us with a short race is some very interesting strategy possibilities, because it's going to be 42 laps. You've got to complete at least 75% to be a classified finisher. That could be important in this championship fight. 32 laps is the minimum to complete to be a classified finisher. Starting fuel is low at 50 litres, but the fuel tank size completely uncapped at the massive 133 litres, giving a very wide strategy window and possibilities today. Typical fuel burn, just under 3 litres a lap at this shortish, 4-ish kilometre racetrack. Total fuel drop to ads, not going to be particularly significant, but it's still 2 compulsory pit stops, with that compulsory pit stop window opening at the end of lap 2 if we're still green flag racing. And with that completely uncapped fuel tank and 150 kilometer race, the critical lap for your second stop is immediately. So what does that mean for what our leaders opt to do? Does it put a lot of traffic in their way as other drivers elect to stop early? This could be a real traffic management, driving your strategy decisions type of race.
Yeah, I completely agree there, David. And I think we're going to see that the beauty of this uncapped fuel tank is we're going to see a lot of different people trying different things tonight to get those positions and get that jump. And here we see our possible pit strategies. Now, I reckon we'll see far and few between of all of these here, but basically we've got our early stops there. So as David pointed out, stop 1 on lap 2, stop 2 on lap 3, and then you're done. You're through to the end of the race. Then you've got your even stints where you just basically break this race into thirds, lap 14 and lap 28. Take a similar amount of fuel on at each stop, you're on your way. Then you've got your late stops, which are, as you can see, you take a little bit more fuel at the first stop, then you take just a small splash with some tyres at that last stop. But in saying all of that, we have no idea how these guys are going to handle their fuel. Some people might fuel up as high as they can early in the race to the top of the tank, and then just try and run it all the way through with a tyre stop later in the race and no fuel. Some people might short fuel. I mean, the possibilities are endless with what we've been given tonight, and I'm pretty excited to see what these guys come up with.
Yes, exactly. It all hangs in the balance. We'll keep you up to date on how the championship stands, who's best placed. We'll have live points. We'll be reviewing the points going into this race as well. And gee, never even see any of these lines reach that cap of 133 litres because it is such a gigantic fuel tank that these cars have got. So this is the championship points. Jordan Ross leads the way. We have had 2 drop rounds, but you can't drop the final round. So this is how they come into this final race. Jordan Ross, 16 points ahead. Wayne Walker with victory last time out at the Red Bull Ring has leapt into second place after a challenging start to the season. He's come on strong. He's in great form and he's in second in the championship. Sean McNamara led early and now sits just 20 points behind Jordan Ross. It's a real sort of footy finals type situation, I think, Brock. Do you want to be the team that won the most games in the home and away season, or do you want to be the team that battled their way in but are on a really hot streak of form?
I think if it was my footy team, I'd love to see them with that form coming into this last round. He's got Wayne Walker, has got the momentum behind him. He's got the speed behind him. You mentioned he had a hard start to the season, but through all of that, he's kept it strong and had some really solid results the last few rounds. So I think that he is going to be very strong tonight. Jordan Ross, always strong, always fast, as he's shown over the last few seasons, but this is the tightest gap we've seen in the last round of Jordan Ross, and McNamara has been Mr. Consistent most of this season, so expect something good out of him too. I think it's really anyone's game. There's going to have to be Wayne Walker and McNamara have got to do the hard work here. Jordan Ross has just got to keep it clean and up the front, and he'll be able to snag this one tonight. But in saying that, 150 kilometres odd of racing between now and then.
So let's zoom in on our top 3 and what they need to do tonight. Well, Jordan Ross leads the championship. So if he finishes ahead of both of the other 2 very, very easily, that makes him the champion. Wayne Walker, if he wins the race, he needs to pull 16 points on Jordan Ross. So he would need to win and have Jordan Ross finish 4th or lower. For Sean McNamara to come from 3rd, things are more complicated because he needs to win, and then he needs Walker to finish 3rd or lower. Needs Ross to also finish 6th or lower. McNamara needs to do everything he can and then have 2 things outside of his control happen. Jordan Ross has it all in his hands. Wayne Walker needs to do what he can do and then worry about Jordan Ross. And if all 3 of them take each other out, Jerez 97, Suzuka 1990, whatever, Scott Gamble, Mark Poynton, Jeff Thomas, Dean Logsdale are going to have to come from very, very far back to win this one.
Yeah, look, I think Walker has got a good path to try and win this one. If he can get past or stay in front of Jordan Ross and hope for Ross to drop a few spots here. So I reckon we're going to see some really tough fought battles out there tonight because Walker will want to snag that championship. Jordan Ross is going to want to back up his dominance, and McNamara is going to want to show what he's made of as he's been doing all season. All 3 of these guys have very good reasons to win this one and are very deserving to win this one, but when that checkered flag falls at the end of the night, we'll be able to see if any of these scenarios have come to fruition.
So that's a yet more head dizzying way of looking at our battle for the top 3, and this is the kind of season that they've had. Jordan Ross on 4 race wins and 3 pole positions. Wayne Walker with 3 wins, but look at them. Round 6, round 8, round 9 as we come into round 10. And then Sean McNamara with the first 2 race wins of the season to his name, and then missing a race or 2 along the way. So Jordan Ross with the most race wins, but Wayne Walker with the most recent ones. Who do you fancy?
Look, I still got to put some weight behind Wayne Walker. That recent form at a variety of different tracks that all have their own challenges there, I think he is the favourite on pace to win tonight, but you talked about it earlier, he still has to rely on Jordan Ross finishing, I believe it was in 4th or lower. So Walker can win this thing. He can bolt this race and win it by 20 seconds tonight if he wants to. But if Jordan Ross is in 2nd place behind him, then there's nothing he can do. So Walker's only motivation tonight is to get out front, stay there and win this thing. And then he's got to let the sim racing gods take care of the rest. But it does show Jordan Ross has consistent form throughout the season there. Wayne Walker has come on strong at the end, and we definitely saw a strong start from McNamara earlier in the season.
Very interesting to look at it that way and see who's leading the points, but who's in best form. This could be a very chaotic 150 kilometers from the Sachsenring. So one of our favourite things in RaceKraft V8 Veterans Championship is the bonus point for joining the Zoom feed. Let's look at the Zoom wall and the drivers that we're going to be able to follow along with more closely throughout this race. So Ray Smith in the top left. Luke Allman gives us a thumbs up. The Dino is back and sitting at a modest 100. There's Travis Hunt and Jeff Thomas. Those teammates have had a pretty good season, featuring inside of the top 10 very commonly. I think both of them featuring inside of the top 10 of the points. Jeff Thomas has been a quiet accumulator. What can he do here at the Sachsenring? David Kirby just getting a little bit of lavender or bubblegum flavour going on before we go racing. Sean Vandermeulen there. Dean Logsdale staying hydrated, hopefully. Drinking clear liquid out of a plastic bottle. I hope it's water. There's Stuart Hall giving us another angle, not only of the guns, but of the sim rig. And I wonder if Sachsenring is in the greatest racing tracks in the world graphic. Sean McNamara, one of the championship contenders there, looking focused. Christian Smart, Jonathan Gallen, Greg Sharp, and Justin McLean.
Yep, love seeing our Zoom wall attendees here, and we'll check in with each and every one of them as the night goes on and see how the Dino Dinos coming along and just how they're tackling these 150 kilometres here at the Sachsenring.
So as our championship top three are soon to get underway. Here's another look at what this round means to them. And this is the weird yo-yo season that Wayne Walker has had. He's either been 30th or 1st, and it gives him an average finishing position of over 10 compared to the consistency of Jordan Ross and Sean McNamara. 3 wins in the last 4 races for Wayne Walker has brought him from outside of the top 10 at the halfway point of this championship to suddenly a contender at round 10.
Yeah, it's fascinating. If he does get this one done here tonight, I reckon you'd have to go back in the stat books and see if there's someone else who's done it with that average finish. And it just shows that those drop rounds, when they come into effect, they do help. But also Wayne Walker's return to form at the back end of this season is really what has driven home this championship fight that earlier in the season he probably didn't even think was on, and now here he is. So fascinating to look at, and now he's just got to prove that he can move that average finish up just a smidge more tonight.
So a quick rundown of the grid as they get ready to get underway for 150 kilometers. That's Wayne Walker on pole position. That's Jordan Ross in second. That is a very exciting front row of the grid. Dean Logsdale staying hydrated. He starts out in third with McLean in fourth. Paul Young there and Sean Henry in seventh. 150 kilometers starts from the Sachsenring, heading down towards that tight turn 1, leaning on each other somewhat. Wayne Walker's looking for the wide line to sweep around the outside of Jordan Ross, who gets a little bit of contact from the bumper behind. Out in the marbles goes Logsdale. No good drive for him there. And the championship contenders are already door to door. Jordan Ross trying to get the nose of his Mustang back in front. Around the outside, still trying to hold on, goes Wayne Walker, and then the track swaps back the other way, heading back uphill, and this is the kind of energy they're going to bring tonight.
No holds barred. That is the mood for tonight, the vibe of tonight. We've got a car off in the background there. It looks like they're going to get going. We got a few. That's Reese to Goey and someone else off there as well. Greg Sharp down 12 now. So we've obviously, there's a bit of an accident that's happened there with lots of sand on the track too. We'll have a look at that a little bit later on. But as you mentioned, Wayne Walker did a great job there to hold his station and hold position to keep first in the end, because Jordan Ross looked like for a second there he might just be able to snag it from him. But we said Walker's got to focus on winning the race, and then he's got to let the sim racing gods take care of the rest here. He's right now coming towards the end of lap 1. He's done everything he can to maintain that lead. Well done, first lap.
The hill onto the widened front straight. Wayne Walker goes across to the racing line early. Ross still sits behind. Compulsory pit stop window not open yet. It's the end of this lap if we stay green. Down through turn 1. Really trying to straighten up the exit is key for these cars. Tough to do. It's constantly continuing corners. Race start from Sean McNamara though to be up into 4th. There's all that gravel on the racetrack. If things get messy between 1st and 2nd, McNamara is not too far behind. Dive to the inside from Jordan Ross. Takes the race lead from Wayne Walker, who's going to cut back to try to get a good drive off this sequence. Bouncing over the curbs, the both of them go, trying to mind their P's and Q's vis-a-vis the track limits.
Yeah, that was well done there from Jordan Ross. Looked like Wayne Walker just got a little bit wide, which probably is due to that gravel that they ran through, and he's just pushed wide. But now Jordan Ross has the lead, but Walker won't let him get away too quickly here. Good point as well regarding Sean McNamara. He started a little bit further down the grid, but he's already just starting to play himself in that podium position. So we might see a 3-way fight here shortly at the lead of this race, which will be for quite literally for the championship. We're on the nose of Wayne Walker now, coming around to complete lap 2 here. Jordan Ross just come across the line now onto lap 3. Walker definitely not close enough to move here. Very interested to see how Jordan Ross goes through the curves, because he looked a lot stronger on that last lap through here, keeping the car tight and carrying speed.
The field staying super tightly compressed at the moment. The top 9 within about 4 seconds, and you can see that they're just a group snaking their way through. Then you find a gap between Michael Stewart in 9th, Ken Latter in 10th, just ahead of Luke Orman, Christopher Burridge. A bit more field spread happening behind the top 10 here by the looks of things. Logsdale picking up that fastest lap of the race as he gets his tyres in, and Ken Latter has been a driver to make up plenty of positions when he's needed to. He's got a bit of damage on the right front there.
Yeah, and a little bit of a great train behind him of cars, so you have to imagine that little bit of damage is probably causing Ken just a bit of handling, probably a bit of understeer on the nose of the thing, and maybe a bit of turn in missing from that car, but he's managing to keep the likes of Orman, Burridge and Smith behind him for now anyway. We did talk about how this track is about patience and finding your moments, and Ken Latter, while he is someone who knows how to pass, he's also someone that knows how to hold position if he needs to. So this will be an interesting one to watch for the edge of the top 10, as now Hunt and Nash in the background there also kind of playing into this battle as Ken Latter continues to lead this battle to try and get into the top 10.
Travis Hunt lost 2 spots so far in this race, in 14th for the moment, taking a slightly defensive line, braking into turn 1, and then it drops away through there. You do get a fair bit of elevation change around here. You're seeing it quite drastically coming out of the final corner as well. Drivers really want to straighten up to avoid the sort of anti-camber of a really sharp corner climbing uphill.
Yeah, it's a fascinating circuit, this one, with the challenges that it presents with the supercar. That, you know, we always saw, I always talk about overpowered and undergripped, and the undulation in this track through the actual turns themselves really presents a challenge for these guys, A, to get the power down and get the speed out of it, but also, you mentioned earlier, Dave, to stay within track limits. And here it looks enticing getting out on that AstroTurf, but I can guarantee a few of these guys are picking up some really early off tracks onto their incident limit.
Crazy to think we're already past the compulsory pit stop window critical lap number. Some replays of the early part of the race. David Kirby has a late dive down the inside there, and the rest of the field have to check up. That sent David Kirby to the back. A bit more happening around that as well. Ooh, looks like Greg Sharp backwards in the gravel. That's where a lot of the gravel got dragged back on. Whiting.
That explains that spacing we're seeing in the back of the pack as well. They all had to check up there to try and not get involved in everyone else's incidents. It was just a bit of a concertina effect there of, as people kept spinning around and backing up, more people got tagged and spun around. Frankly, I'm surprised we didn't get a safety car out of all of that. Everyone did really well to get going again. But what that has done is it has spaced out our field, so we have these separate little battle packs now all the way throughout.
Well, it's slow speed, clumsy stuff, isn't it? And that doesn't tend to do enough damage or make cars get stuck. It just costs some of the drivers some time, puts some little dents and dings on them. Jordan Ross still leading the way, leading the championship. Wayne Walker has often been one of the quickest to adapt when we've gone to new tracks. He's often come away with the win. So true of Mexico City this season, true of Portland the season before. Here at the Sachsenring at RaceKraft V8 Vets, first time of visiting, Jordan Ross is leading the way from Wayne Walker. Live standings, I would have them leaving here the way that they entered. It's not quite what we were predicting.
No, I thought Wayne Walker being out front, as you mentioned, David, he's definitely got an affinity for new circuits or circuits that aren't used very often on the calendar. So I had pegged him for being able to get that done, but it just seems in this early race phase anyway, Jordan Ross has a far better feel for the car, and the car is switched on a lot earlier for him. So, look, Walker isn't too far behind. We still have quite a few laps in this one to unravel. So this is where that strategy play might come in, where do you try something a bit different? Do you try and top up lots of fuel now, hope for a safety car later to get a bit of a free kick further up the field, keeping in mind that looking at Sean McNamara, he'll be looking to take advantage of any opportunity he can to try and jump Walker and get himself closer to that title.
Something we frequently referred to as the Long Beach situation is entirely possible here, where drivers that have made one stop when then a safety car comes out still relatively early in the race are able to make their second compulsory pit stop, cycle forwards, and then everyone else is still left needing a green flag pit stop. Mara, shortish gears here at Sachsenring, only just getting up into 6th and 240 k's an hour before he's got to slow it down big time to stay on that curbing at turn 1. Long left-hander, yet further downhill, even longer right-hander here. Titans late on as well.
You just imagine the temptation to get on the throttle a little bit earlier through there to try and get the car to rotate a bit more, because you just saw how long McNamara is holding that steering lock to the right to get the car to go for him, but you've got to be patient there. And I think we talked about, excuse me, sorry, I'm getting a bit confused there. We're on board with Dan Hall here, who is chasing down, by the looks of it, is that Damien Cairns in front of him, if I'm not mistaken, as they're battling for 21st and 22nd here. Dan Hall up 9, so he's gotten through that melee at the start of the race fairly cleanly, and is already charging his way through the pack.
Yeah, typical Dan Hall performance. Qualifies poorly, gains lots and lots of positions, and then has all of his friends try to tell us that we should vote him for driver of the day.
Hey, look, if he can pass the cars, I, for one, am in the poor qualifying game, but can work my way through a field, so I can respect the strategy, even though in my case it's not strategy, it's just I can't qualify to help myself. But David Gans out in front of Dan Hall here, and just earning himself a little bit of breathing space as we see the first of our pitters come in Justin McLean. So these are these early stoppers here, and they will be able to get David Kirby in as well a good bit, or all of their fuel in, should they choose to. Not necessarily the play, because those guys may go down a lap or further with that longer fill. So just there's going to be a bit of strategy in this, and that traffic you talked about earlier, David, as well, will play into this if some of the back markers start to pit and come out into that lead group.
Interesting pit lane here. Pit lane speed's 50 kilometers an hour, but you see that the entry is on the left-hand side of the road. You've got to stay pretty tight out of the final corner, and then there's a long exit pit lane. Chris Miller with some damage. The Mustang's in an awkward spot. He's got some big damage, shedding a whole heap of bodywork. There's another big crash. Where's that? Around Luke Allman. Oh my word. Across the track, 3 cars sideways. We've had a massive incident right there. Mark Poynton, Luke Allman, John Latham, all with massive damage. That's all happened just after where Chris Miller was, so there might have been a bit of a checkup. John Latham can't turn left because his right front suspension is absolutely broken. Whole heap of other drivers are leaping for pit lane, so McNamara, Michael Stewart and Sean Vandermeulen are in, perhaps as a reaction to what McLean had done. And now at the pit entry, you've got a problem because cars are slowed up at the apex of the final corner and then being drilled from behind. David Nash has been spun around.
Yeah, I'm just looking back. It looks like the catalyst for this was Dean Logsdale had a massive moment and has swiped across the nose of Poynton. And now looking at the pits here, David Nash looks to have gotten a black flag on pit entry as well. So bad to worse there for him. But this is carnage, is what this is. No safety car at the moment. So it looks like everyone's gotten going again, despite the fact there was carnage and chaos and damage everywhere. We're going to keep going. So those people that leap for pit lane, well, I'm not sure if the strategy worked there. They were probably hoping for a safety car. Our leaders, though, didn't in Ross and Walker, and they've stayed out there at the moment just to continue battling on.
Track has got absolutely filthy, though. This is that final corner. Big slide from Jordan Ross in the traction zone. And then the next driver to, I think, keep an eye on. Justin McLean's the highest running driver to have completed a compulsory pit stop. So we'll see what his lap times end up being. Not seeing as much drop off on these old tyres as I might have expected. Track is a lovely 25 degrees Celsius. Seem to spend so long in these corners and then trying to get traction out of the slow corners that you think new tyres could be incredibly beneficial. But we'll wait and see. And short lap, a lot of cars going a lap down as they make a stop.
Yeah, that's it, and that speaks to that traffic situation. So we did have McNamara pit out of all of that, so he has gone in and gotten his first compulsory pit stop out of the way. So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out, whether those new tyres and if he has a bit of clean air helps him there. But right now, Walker still not letting Ross run away here. So even through all of that and the traffic coming out, Walker has managed to keep himself fairly attached. That gap is just going up and down a tenth or two every lap, but not Ross hasn't been able to run away with this one. So now the question is, who pits when? Will Ross go first? Will Walker try and undercut him and try and use those tyres to his benefit to leap him and get back to where he started in pole position?
Looks like Wayne Walker going for pit entry there, so you've got to just check the throttle a little bit in the middle of the corner to make it to the left-hand side there. Paul Young follows him in as well, so Jordan Ross gets left out in the lead, perhaps approaching a little bit of traffic. Christian Smart is up so many positions, having stayed out the way that he has and picked the gaps. A lot of drivers now thinking that about lap 10 is the time to make that first stop. You get the first one done, and then have flexibility for when you take the second pit stop. So Chris Miller was the first driver we went to look at and went, how did he end up off the track? He's understeered, caught the gravel, had a wobble and been unable to catch it, spun to the inside and done himself some damage. And then after that,
I think Logsdale collects Poynton here after having a lose of his own. And then just watch Poynton here as well after he's collected by Logsdale. So Logsdale has just a big slide, like a tank slapper basically, right across the apron there, past Chris Miller, who's parked in the fence, and Poynton would have had the surprise of his life there. And if we watch Poynton re-entering the track, this is where it really starts to kick off at the moment, as he goes back here, and it's just chaos. Everyone had nowhere to go there in a really tight battle pack, and unfortunately a lot of cars have been involved in that.
Yikes. Ken Latta absolutely drills, and there's a lot of drivers that are following him closely. So there's sort of 1, 2, 3 cars off, and then Ken Latta's going to come around over the crest of the hill here. Well, you can't even see Poynton until you're over the crest there. And so it stands to reason then that Poynton probably couldn't see them. And then it stands to my third point of following logic that that's a pretty bad place to rejoin if it's blind.
I think I've got to agree with you there, David. Latta would have seen Poynton on the relative, but would have never expected him to basically be entering onto the race line like that, and at the speed and the load those cars would have been holding there. Latta couldn't have gotten out of the way if he wanted to at that point in time, unfortunately. So really nasty incident there. A lot of drivers have been affected by that one. And Mark Poynton has just been given a 30-second stop and hold for his role in that accident. So the really unfortunate part of this is it was just a 2-car accident, with Logsdale obviously having that moment and knocking Poynton off, but then that has escalated into a bigger accident with that unsafe re-entry there by Poynton.
3 different strategies happening with our 3 championship leaders. Jordan Ross has stopped from the lead and taken just 15 seconds of fuel. He remains the net race leader. Wayne Walker's pitted and taken 18 seconds. Sean McNamara has stopped and taken 23 seconds of fuel. So total fuel drop is going to be the same for the 3 of them, but they've taken different amounts at their first stop. So Jordan Ross maintains a light car, maintains track position, but needs a longer stop later on. McNamara went a little early, took a little bit more fuel, has taken some of that tyre undercut, I think, and then we'll need a shorter final stop. Wayne Sanderson leads, Jeff Thomas comes into the pits. Still a couple of drivers that haven't taken their first pit stop yet, but most of the field have. Definitely the 3 drivers that we want to keep underneath the microscope. Jordan Ross, Sean McNamara, Wayne Walker have. As Walker got Greg Sharp, who hasn't stopped yet, and has to make his way past him, but lays down a new fastest lap of the race.
Yep, so Walker now, his challenge is to close that gap to Ross and nullify that fuel advantage. Nullify the fuel advantage that Walker has. So basically what he wants to do is get close enough to Ross that in that next pit cycle, Walker can jump him on the fuel. And right now he's setting down some blistering times to try and get there and get that done. So we'll have to keep an eye on them. But as you said, David, 3 slightly different strategies there, which will all lead to a crescendo in a matter of laps when they need to put in that second stop. Watching some pretty hectic battling here. That's the battle for third at the moment, and watching the guys rip snorting these things. Rushworth had a massive moment. Dan Hall has just been black flagged as well. Not sure what that's for. But that'll ruin the run he's been on at the moment. Sounds like that's by race control, so something has been given out there based off an incident earlier in the race.
There's a bunch of drivers that haven't made a first stop yet coming in. Okay, Dan Hall's now got that penalty to serve. Darren Goosey is in as well. We're left with Wayne Sanderson, John Gallen, Andrew Rushworth, with Brad Doble and Gary Buckland in the top 5 that haven't made a stop yet. Jordan Ross is just catching them though. He's here behind Doble and Buckland, and I think it's hurting him somewhat on this lap. They owe him nothing. He should be quicker, but he's not getting by quickly, costing time that he can't afford to lose.
If I was Jordan Ross, I would be furious right now. As you said, not that these guys have to move side for it. This is battling for position. These guys are running their race, but for Ross, he needs that advantage to stay at around that 4-second mark to make sure in this next pit stop he doesn't get jumped by Walker, and this is just eating into that gap that he had built. And in fact, Walker is just about within that limit now, and Ross has more traffic ahead of him. So this is going to continue to ebb and flow a little bit, but Walker right now is in the clear and can run the race the way he wants to. And we would expect to see some of these other drivers ahead of this group coming into pit fairly shortly too, I'd imagine.
Gallen comes in, but for Jordan Ross, Andrew Rushworth stays out. So it all clears up for Wayne Walker and Paul Young. Jordan Ross is still, with that quick stop, it's put him into the traffic a little bit earlier before some of these others have stopped yet. So he could have maybe done with taking a longer stop, and it would have put him into cleaner air. He still leads the race in net terms. That's Wayne Walker.
More penalties being handed down in the background here. So Dean Logsdale has now been given a pit lane drive for his role in an incident earlier in the race. I believe it was on lap 9 as well. So that will, I'd imagine, be for that incident with Mark Poynton, actually, just what that we saw that led to that bigger incident. But so he will have to serve a pit lane drive through. But looking now, watching Wayne Walker here, just seeing what he's doing with his times. He's within about 3 seconds of Jordan Ross at the moment. But I've got to say, these guys are they're trading some pretty good laps at the moment, trying to stay ahead of each other while Ross also works his way through some traffic.
Rushworth and Buckland pit out of the way, so it clears the track up. Looking at Jordan Ross backwards to Wayne Walker, and Paul Young still need Wayne Sanderson just ahead of them to make his stop. A lot of the other battles have come back together in the mid-pack. So Travis Hunt just ahead of Christian Smart, Dean Flavel just ahead of Crisdale and Burridge. Dean Logsdale with that penalties ahead of Michael Whiting and Matthew Brunt and Lorne McKee. And so many little boxing matches all the way to the end of this one, I think.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think right now we're in that middle stint of the race where everyone's kind of running a slightly different strategy, different fuel loads, potentially different tyres as well. And we'll see it all crunch up a little bit later on, as now we're looking at Dan Hall and Stephen Kennedy battling it out for the top 10 here with... Okay, Dan Hall is yet to stop. So right now, he needs to come in at some stage, so yet to stop there. And Stephen Kennedy was an early stopper, but he's looking like he's put himself up in not too bad a position in this race. There's still one more stop to go for him, but doing well, working his way through the pack, and probably a benefactor of that incident earlier on, making his way past a few cars that were damaged. Starting to cleanse a bit here as well, as we see Wayne Sanderson come in. So that'll be just about all of our cars with their first pit stops done. So Jordan Ross has reclaimed the race lead outright here, with Wayne Walker now 3.1 seconds behind him. So that's the number we need to watch throughout this one on the timing tower. Jordan Ross has that clear air, but also he does have to put on some more fuel at the next stop. So Wayne Walker's aim right now is to just reduce that gap without burning out the tyres or spinning off or doing any of that. He just needs to eat away at it and keep catching Jordan Ross. And we know, based off his qualifying effort, he's got the pace to get up to Ross and make his life hard. So we'll see what he can do in this middle stint.
Yeah, so finally the track opens up a little bit for Jordan Ross, who does look to be pushing pretty hard. Tiny bit of a slide over the crest there. Turning in late to the left-hander, riding lots of the curb. Just keeping one tyre on the curb on the exit. Seems like you definitely don't want to do is go out so wide that you touch the gravel and spin out. A little bit of a slide again coming out of the final corner, but everyone seems to be doing that just based on the hill and the elevation. Still short of the halfway mark. Ross leads by just about 3 seconds, but Wayne Walker was 0.2 quicker on that lap just done.
there. So Walker's looking to, well, he's not looking to, he needs to find this time. And, you know, I'm not sure if Ross is playing the game a little bit here and trying to just play to him. Here we go, Dan Hall comes in for his pit stop as well, but it's going to be tight. If this gap maintains where it's at, it's going to be tight coming out of the pits. I think Jordan Ross might just snag the lead coming into the next pit stop if Walker can't get closer, but we'll see how they go. They're just going back and forth in this middle sector, gaining and losing time, and they're really pushing. You can see the slides and the way that the body language of the car moving around. They're not out here for a Sunday drive. Both of these guys realise tonight is a championship drive. Whoever comes out on top will be the champion, and that is not lost on either of these guys.
Well, it's ebbs and flows lap to lap, isn't it? Because the first sector, Wayne Walker was quicker than Jordan Ross a lap ago. This lap, dropping a little bit of time and goes sort of the other way, and they remain within about 3 seconds of each other. We're going to see if anyone's made their 2 compulsory pit stops. Someone will have, but who's the highest driver with that accolade? Could be Damien Cairns.
I think you might be right there. There's a couple of ones that are trying to confuse us a bit with penalties and that sort of thing, but I think you're right. Damien Cairns is the one and only at the moment, so we're not even at half race distance, and he's made those 2 pit stops, so you've got to assume he's good to go. And Crisdale as well. Sorry, not to discount Crisdale there. So we've got a couple of drivers there that have done their 2 compulsory pit stops. So depending on safety cars and incidents, that could play into their strategy and get them further up the grid, but they're going to have to make these tyres last quite a while into this one with still over 20 laps to go.
Here's Stephen Kennedy versus Travis Hunt and Christian Smart. Kennedy had a very early stop. May have been some damage, not taking a whole heap of fuel, and this is where some of them are trying to get back by him. Travis Hunt gets down the inside. Christian Smart wants some of that as well.
I think it's good here in this part of the race. We're not looking to have incidents and safety cars at the moment. Everyone's playing the smart game. Kennedy knows what he's got and what he's got to play with and fight with at the moment, and I think that he's playing it smart here. He's got guys who are fast and trying to come through on him and make up positions, make it to the end of this one and don't cause an incident, and everyone's going to be happy. So Hunt and Smart now up into 8th and 9th, and Stephen Kennedy being chased down now by David Kirby, who is a little bit further behind. I think that's actually might be Mark Poynton making its way back through the field after that incident and penalty. That's directly behind Stephen Kennedy at the moment.
Andrew Rushworth have a massive slide out of the final corner, went a bit wide, touched the curb, finds himself in the middle of a battle with Dean Flavel, Chris Burridge. LL Cesar was going to have a look at him, but wasn't able to get down the inside at turn 1 to make a move and capitalise on a mistake. I think Wayne Sanderson just behind them as well here.
So Rushworth doing well. I'm sure, honestly, it would be good to have a drink with some of these drivers after this one and tell their stories of woe and heroics, because I reckon there's been a few of them throughout this field, dodging incidents and catching the cars. They seem to be pushing hard, but also really finding the limits tonight. Rushworth continuing to look to make up more spots with Burridge and Flavel ahead of him. Speaking of Burridge, he is right on the back of Dean Flavel at the moment and looking to make a move down to the turn 1. Will he get it done? He's not quite far enough down the inside there. Burridge looking to make up a few positions that he's lost since the start of the race, but can't quite get it done there on Flavel in 13th position.
So we're about to take a look at Dean Flavel's Dino Dyno, the heart rate monitor. I suspect it'd be relatively high. It usually seems like it goes up in the corners and down on the straights, and this is a track that hits a lot of corners, so I'm saying 105.
Oh, I'm going to have to go 113. He's battling pretty hard out there. Drum roll, please.
Oh.
Oh! 125 max as well. Dino is working hard out there tonight.
Sure is. They're working hard behind him as well. Really deep on the brakes into the corner, washing a little bit wide for Burridge. He's now back under pressure from Rushworth. It's extending the track limits just a little bit in a couple of places. The final corner is where you really have to be careful. How early in this, as Ross, Walker or McNamara, would you be comfortable taking that second stop?
I think you've got to, as any of those guys, to reduce the risk of traffic that's getting in the way, I think you need to just keep running until the tank's empty here. Or until you, as late as you can, unless your tyres are starting to go off, unless you're really feeling the desperation to get into the pits. Because we just saw how that traffic affected Jordan Ross not 5-6 laps ago. And if you get into another situation like that where you put yourself deep in the pack, any of your strategies will be different now. So I think these guys need to wait until a bit of the field cleanses and then they can go in to give themselves the best chance here. And in saying that, Jordan Ross is losing time here to Wayne Walker as well, so he can't afford another round of pit stops where he gets stuck and loses time in traffic. He needs to have a strong second round here to keep himself in front.
So a few things happening. Wayne Walker getting a little bit closer to Jordan Ross. I think Sean McNamara has gone past Justin McLean, or those two have been a little bit close for a moment. So there's a bit of an accordion, a compression amongst some of our leading drivers here. And Walker's looking in a better spot. There is McNamara now comfortably ahead of Justin McLean.
Still holding strong in that fourth position at the moment, not quite making much inroads into Paul Young, but we'll see how that goes. As you said, a bit of an accordion effect when we see these guys are a bit stronger or a bit slower, depending on which corner it is. And we're going to go to the pedal cam for Justin McLean here. So look at the heel toe. We have to give some credit for that. I know I am terrible at heel towing, and he's put the full cam on. I'm convinced this is just a bit of a flex to show us how good he is with the racing fingers and the heel toe at the moment. But that is pretty impressive. Turn one here. Look at that. The clutch, brake, heel toe. That's pretty cool. I'm loving that.
You could do with a tiny bit more offset, so put the resting position of the throttle a bit further down, and then, you know, when you've got a bit of pressure on the brake, then it lines up with the throttle, flip, flip, flip. But I know he's doing better than me or you, for sure, with the boots on. He's just had a 5.7, brought himself a tiny bit closer to McNamara. His laps previous to that dipped into the 26s, so it hadn't been perfect. We've got some really committed fast left-handers, so some steering angle required. It's underneath 2 seconds between race leader Jordan Ross and Wayne Walker in second, and we think that it was just over 3 seconds, the difference in fuel at the first stop, which will then have to reverse in their times coming to the second stop.
Yeah, based off my numbers here as well, is that seems just about right too. So what that means now is that in theory, we'll see what happens. Pit entry and exit also make a big difference here. So, wow, Walker has just gone, nearly half a second faster than Ross on that lap. So he has found something in the middle part of this race that is really giving him confidence in speed. So if I'm Ross, I'm a little bit worried, albeit getting up to the back of the guy in front of you is one thing, passing him is another, but Walker has got heaps of pace at the moment, and whether Ross is just trying to save a bit of fuel and help choose that fuel fill at the next stop, or whether this is just all he's got, it begs to be seen once we get to that pit stop. But right now, Walker is the man on track, and he is trying to show that he's not out of this fight just yet.
Just learned an amazing fact about the region and Hohenstein-Ernsthal. There's a museum in the center of town that is the Textile and Racing Museum. So a museum simultaneously about the textile industry and racing.
I wouldn't have connected those dots, however, I'm curious and would visit it, at the very least for the motorsports, but I reckon I'd read and enjoy part of the textiles as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna move to Phillip Island and open my Penguin and Racing Museum.
Yeah, that would get people through the door, I reckon. And
McNamara's in for his second stop. Sorry, what are we gonna do with the Penguins?
Oh, I was gonna say put the Penguin in the race car and do a little display. That's your winner, I reckon. That's your tourist shot.
It's a foolproof strategy. McNamara taking the second compulsory stop of the race. Shouldn't need too much fuel in this one, just 12 seconds. So his first stop was kind of 23-ish. Have a fair bit of a tyre undercut, and that's what he needs. That roll of the dice is exactly what Sean McNamara leads, coming from third in this championship. LL Caesar has a bit of a lockup, pushes wide in turn one, and makes a tiny bit of door-to-door contact with Sean McNamara, who left him space, but didn't leave him that much space.
No, that's a bit of an awkward one there. Just Halil having his own moment there, and McNamara trying to get to that racing line, and it just that neither would have seen each other, and obviously it made a little bit of contact. I don't think there'll be any damage from that. It's very light on, very slow contact, but he'll carry on now. But not what McNamara needed. You talked about him. He had to take a stab run. He had to try something to get ahead of these guys that were in front of him. But now he's stuck in behind a slower car who's on longer tyres. Strategy. Jeez Louise, Sean. Okay. Well done to both those drivers getting through there. I was expecting absolute disappointment and disaster, and instead McNamara's made his way through and nullified my argument. Well done to both Halil and McNamara there.
So 35-36 seconds of combined pit stop time is kind of what we might be looking at here, just based on Sean McNamara. Jordan Ross only took about 14.5, 15 at his first stop, so he could need a 20-second pit stop for his second stop. Walker just keeps getting closer, 1.1 seconds back. They're beginning to encounter a tiny bit more traffic once again. There is a group of drivers out there now that have made 2 compulsory pit stops. We're past that halfway point. On lap 27, about to be 15 to go here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Ross or Walker react to McNamara. And Jordan Ross and Walker in together. So if Wayne Walker's pit stop time is correct on our estimations, this is going to be a race in the pit stalls, and Walker could lead Ross out of the pit stall. It looks so close.
And I reckon that Walker there was just a bit harder on the brakes and managed to actually pull Ross in a bit more there on the entry. So let's see here. We're going to watch this. We're going to watch this unfold here. So Ross up on the jacks. Walker up on the jacks. Walker is already pointing his car. Look at those front tyres. He's turning right at the pit exit. He is ready to go. He wants to have the best launch he can. A clean in there in the background too behind these guys. Who's going to drop first here? We're thinking Walker. Walker will drop first. So he has retaken the lead of this race and will jump Jordan Ross and keep his championship hopes alive.
Sean McNamara should be back to pretty close with these guys again. He's just back there now with one car in between. Wayne Walker, net race leader, 2 compulsory pit stops completed from Jordan Ross. Andrew Rushworth, 1 stop completed in between those two. And Sean McNamara, whose quick final stop has caught him back up. A tiny bit of a tyre undercut to go along with it as well. And now it's strategies leveled and equaled once again between Walker and Ross. Walker gets his investment from the first stop returned. He leads this race, but he still needs more to happen to be the season champion.
That's it, but you know what? He's taken back control of what he can do in this one. So he's now got the lead back. He seemed to have a handful of pace there towards the end of that middle stint. So expect to see him hopefully stretch that lead a bit. But right now he's got to rely on the likes of Jordan Ross falling back now into the clutches of the likes of McNamara or even Paul Young behind them at the previous stop. So Walker, we're on board with Jeff Thomas here as he's getting passed by Wayne Walker. They come up the hill and onto the front straight, and Jeff Thomas is actually going to dive into the pits there and bring himself out of this battle, which will free Ross to continue chasing Walker.
Yeah, it's sort of stint home territory now, isn't it? On 13 laps to go. Whole suite of drivers coming in. Hello says, I was like, where did my pit crew go? He's looking for them. Wayne Walker leads with a slender margin from Jordan Ross, who you don't anticipate is going to want to take too much risk. I'm sure if we take a quick look at the live points, though they wouldn't be completely accurate with everyone else still needing to pit around them. Jordan Ross there has enough in his back pocket.
Yeah, look, I think at this point here, Walker will at the very least have the pride of potentially winning this one and beating his two championship rivals once I think the pit stops have cycled through. I think Vandermeulen and Hunt were waiting to pit. As I say that, Sean Vandermeulen does come into the pits. So once this all cleanses here, we'll have Walker and Ross, and I believe McNamara 1, 2 and 3. So our championship protagonist will be 1, 2 and 3 in this race. But as we covered earlier, Wayne Walker needs Jordan Ross to finish from fourth or lower, and Ross is not showing any sign of slowing down and wanting to drop further than second as Wayne Walker pumps in the fastest lap of the race with a bonus point there, but that won't be quite enough to snag the championship at this point.
Yet more drivers diving to pit lane, but we're yet to get Travis Hunt to clear this one up. They're 4 wide in the final corner right now, and they've just sorted that out. Jeff Thomas was around the very, very, very outside and found no grip. That was odd. This is a bit of a mess coming down the front straight now. Oh, but now there'll be contact at turn 1, 3 wide. Michael Whiting getting the door from, what would be Burridge or Kennedy? Kennedy, apologies.
Yeah, that 3-to-1 strategy almost never works, and unfortunately there, that's been proven. So definitely starting to get a little bit more elbows out here as we get towards the end of this one, and further down the track here we've got Jeff Thomas battling it out with Damien Cairns, I believe, and he's just gone around the outside there. Jeff Thomas is plus 16, so Thomas is one of our quiet achievers this season, keeping himself in the fight and in and around that top 10, but clearly his qualifying couldn't go to plan tonight, but he's certainly making up for that on the track at the moment, albeit having to sort of dodge, duck, dip, dive and dodge around some of the incidents that are happening around him.
Might need to dodge a wrench in this one. JWM SimSport cars, they've sort of gone for a late second stop here, so now Jeff Thomas is on some really fresh tyres. That sort of 10-lap difference is what allowed him to just drive plain around the outside of Damien Cairns. Travis Hunt from the lead of the race, just exiting the pit lane now with his new tyres on and into 11th, but you see Christian Smart ahead of him, slightly older tyres. I think Buckland and Sharp up in 8th and 9th still need to stop again. So Travis Hunt looking for, I guess, a top 5 if he can get it. He's rearranged his room a little bit, I think, there, and rearranged his cam waters. Where do you keep your life-size cam waters?
Where do I keep? Well, where would anyone else keep life-size cam waters? In the bedroom, of course. But merely as a guardian of my dreams. Nothing weird.
I'd keep them in my fridge.
Is that where the monster's safely kept?
Yeah, then it'd always be crisp and, refreshing when you needed a cold monster. So it looks like top 7 have all made their 2 compulsory pit stops. 8th and 9th perhaps haven't yet. Just Smart, Travis Hunt have. We just saw Trav make his. Final corner, he gets tight to the apex. It's sort of uncambered a little bit, rising over the crest. He gets wide onto that curve. This being a new track to iRacing, you've got to assume everything's 3D curves. That's Christian Smart just ahead of him. Slightly older tyres, but not by a great amount.
Yeah, that's it. So these guys will be battling it out to try and finish their season with the top 10, which is always a nice stat to have. Christian Smart is one of those drivers we often see battle his way through, regardless of where he qualifies. He always seems to make up a few spots along the way. So, and we always love checking with him on the Zoom call there too. So, yeah, just about 10 laps left in this one here. We're looking at Sean McNamara and Paul Young. Now, McNamara jumped Young in that pit cycle, but no pun intended, Young is on younger tyres at the moment. We're seeing the benefit of those tyres really coming in here. The drive out of that last turn, which is far better for Paul Young. McNamara is going to have his hands full here trying to keep Young behind him and maintain this top 3 to finish the season off strong.
Ken Latter's had some of his repairs done. Paul Young and Sean McNamara close together here for the 3rd and the 4th place. He's been moving his way forward because he smashed with Justin McLean. He was behind Paul Young, back ahead of him. It's close between those two for the moment. Greg Sharp and Gary Buckland do make their final stop, so that clears up the top 10 just a little bit further. Christian Smart up in at 8th, Travis Hunt in at 9th, Chris Burridge into 10th. Dramas for Kennedy and Brunt at turn 1, I'm guessing that is.
Yep, looks like it. Brunt looks to have just stopped there. Oh, they've got a battle pack of all battle packs coming up behind them as they're a little bit slow through turn 2. But it looks like they'll get going through turn 2 and 3 here. We'll have a look at the replay. Looking at Brunt now. Into turn 1, it's just going to be that same right rear quarter panel and just spun around. Yeah, it's a really easy one to do there. Looks like he may have waited to try and redress the position, although there was a lot lost out of that one there, so I'd expect to see probably a penalty coming Brunt's way. Just tagged him. Well done waiting for the traffic though to not cause another big pile up there, because it would have been easy to go straight, try and light it up and get straight onto the racing line, and instead just waited patiently. Yeah, it was some positions lost there, but we all got to keep racing. Looking here at McNamara, so back to this battle here with McNamara and Young. So George just got himself a bit of breathing room here, but you can see that delta there for Paul Young. He on a half a second on lap 31 and has just been eating away at that lap after lap down. Saying that, there isn't long left to go in this one, so if McNamara can just put on a defensive masterclass here to finish off the season, he may still be able to secure a podium and really solidify that 3rd place in the championship as well. In saying that, he's a little bit wide, just a bit there into the last turn, and giving Paul Young the sniff that he needs to try and plan a move past. But again, 8 laps left to go here in this one. Young even lost a little bit on that lap, so is McNamara doing just enough to keep him behind and snag a podium to finish this one out?
Young's got just a couple laps newer tyres, but he's Is he looking after them as well? Is he using them up a little bit much? Still a bit of traffic going on for them. There's Pirelli and Bridgestone ads around this track.
It's not often you see two competing tyre brands side by side at the track. We're hearing in our ear that potentially that's for two different modes of motorsport, because you wouldn't usually see those two alongside each other in the wild anyway. Looking at Kirby and Jeff Thomas here. Jeff Thomas looking to add another position to his collection on the night. So he's up 18 at the moment and looking to try and make that 19. In the meantime, David Kirby is up 3 and looking to maintain that +3 and 11th position here. We have both of these guys on the Zoom wall. On your left, David Kirby. On your right, Jeff Thomas, fighting their way through Sachsenring in these final laps after what's been a very intense affair here.
Edison fan putting in some work for Jeff Thomas there.
It's hot and heavy works in the V8 Vets. We know that, David. And we just sit in the comms box and yell at the cars going round and round. These guys are doing the heavy lifting on the circuit. And my goodness, tonight it has been intense. We've seen battles, we've seen crashes, we've seen different strategies. That's all been going on, and we've been trying to keep up as best we can. Speaking of battles, it's all going on in the back of a bit further back of the pack here. As we've got Sanderson, Cesar, Ullman, and Latham engaged in combat as they come around to start with their lap 36 side by side down into turn 1 into the braking zone here as they fan out. Oh, watch out, a little bit of contact made there, another little bit of contact, guys, come on, keep it clean. They come round through turn 2 and into turn 3, single file, having sorted out a bit of that battle, but I'm sure there's still some more to play out here.
Yeah, Sanderson 8-lap old tyres, Smith 7-lap old tyres, Cesar 7-lap old tyres, Luke Gorman 15-lap old tyres. Just behind that, taking a look with Ray Smith there. Sorry, Gorman.
Thumbs up for Gorman earlier in the race, but I'm not sure he'll be giving the thumbs up after the night he's had. I think he got caught up in that earlier Mark Poynton Logsdale incident, so unfortunately he's really, we're used to seeing Luke Gorman a bit further into that top 15, nearing on the top 10, and tonight this isn't really indicative of what we see from him week in and week out, but I'm sure right now in this battle pack his aim will be keep it clean, make it to the end, hopefully snag the top 20 out of this one and then come back better than ever next season. But he's kept on going, he's up ahead here, my goodness. You gotta say, you can see the tension on his face as Sanderson is battling here up ahead of Ullman. Just thinking as Ullman, you just want to make it through this one. You don't want to get caught up in an incident.
So Smith goes around the outside of Sanderson this time. John Latham joins the group, and the way this battling's gone on, I think they've actually seen Robert Crisdale and Dean Flavel clear out from him. Bit of a slide from Smith just there. Side by side through the final corner were Smith and Sanderson, and the previous time around the outside for Sanderson, inside of turn 1 seemed to work, and that time Smith inside turn 1, inside the final corner, outside of turn 1 seemed to work out for him. First.
Yeah, Ray Smith, I'm not going to lie to you there, David. I just got the safety first one buckled in just in case. You never know what's going to happen in the sim rig. And if you've got motion and that sort of thing as well, I think I might need some buckles on my sim rig as well, but just making sure with some of the intense battling Smith is enjoying out there at the moment. We're now going to check in with Vandermeulen, who is up 1 position, but in 6th spot with a really strong outing to finish off his season here. So this is good from Shaw. We've seen him get a bit better as the season's gone on. He's been qualifying and racing more consistently and keeping himself clean. I think this is a really strong performance for him to showcase how far he's come as the season's gone on.
Header Michael Stewart in 7th. Whose camera I believe we also have. There it is, right on cue.
Yeah, we're getting the full Michael Stewart experience tonight. Usually we get a head and a shoulder, an arm and a head, VR goggles and a screen, because he's always trying to show us where the greatest tracks in the world are. But tonight it might mean that Sachsenring isn't on that big map on the wall in the background there. So tonight we're getting the full experience. We get to see his rig, his VR set up and his screen in front of him. Racing from 7th. He's had a couple of hard races this season, but this has been a really good return to form for Michael in the top 10, racing comfortably and consistently tonight.
Christian Smart versus Travis Hunt. The battle is on. Hunt's got those slightly fresher tyres. Seems to have closed a little bit over the last lap. Seems to be closing a little bit right here. Has a couple of laps remaining to try to stick a move for 8th.
And again, on board with another 2 of our Zoom wall attendees. We've been able to cover a few of them in the latter parts of this race, which has been great, as Smart trying to hold on. Plus 16, great stat to have. Another top 10 for Smart. Travis Hunt trying to finish off what's been a really excellent season for him, and a really consistent season as well. But he'll want to try and get up to 8th, get those extra few points, get himself a little bit further up in the championship and finish on a high note. So he's certainly keeping Christian Smart honest here, as he's trying to find any way through on Smart. He's just searching high and low through the corner to find a way through, but Smart is keeping it consistent. He's keeping and making, speaking of consistent, he's just had a big slide there, but managing to keep Hunt behind him now as we come round for the last few laps of this one.
Into turn 1, Smart with the inside a little bit wide. Travis Hunt keeps his nose down low, but it's tough to pass through this early part of the lap. Sort of slot car stuck to your line through the long, and then keeping on going long corners. Goes around, Lorne Mackay's backwards at the final corner. I think he's picked up some incidents along with it as well, and that's put him over the incident limit as it's transpired. And then Wayne Walker, race leader, goes to put him that lap down.
And we'll check in with Dean Logsdale here, who has had an unfortunate night tonight with that slide that ended up taking out Mark Poynton. So definitely not been one of Logsdale's better nights, but he is on the Zoom wall tonight, so we'll check in with him. He's cruising along here at 35th at the moment. Had a really strong qualifying performance. Unfortunately, not come to fruition in the race tonight, but we're used to seeing him in that top 10. Great to see him on the Zoom wall. He hasn't been there in every race this season, so hopefully next season we can see him on the Zoom wall and continue to check in with him as well.
Teammates here, just ahead of John Gallen. Damien Kanza and Andrew Rushworth. Rushworth not getting a great drive off the final corner, so John Gallen's got to work out what he's going to do here. For the outside, descending, slightly downhill braking zone into 1. We're always hoping that the other driver locks up, pushes a little bit wide, and you can cross over under, but it doesn't always happen. Wayne Walker's about to start the final lap of the race. And as he does, he's headed towards another race win. Jordan Ross is potentially heading towards the championship. Anything on the podium, enough for Jordan Ross.
It's been a great showing by our championship contenders tonight, and just before we finish this one up, we've got to touch base with Greg Sharp here, who's another one of our Zoom wall attendees. Down 3 on where he started, got caught up in a couple of incidents early, and is cruising through to finish this one. But we've got Christian Smart in the wall now with the front bumper off the thing. So he was having an awesome night out, and unfortunately, in one way or another, has ended up in the wall.
Wayne Walker's heading towards the checkered flag. He's heading to 4 race wins in the final 5 races of the season. His late championship form only being let down by a few poor races early in the season, a points penalty at Watkins Glen. His highs have been incredibly high. Every time we go to a new racetrack, Wayne Walker seems to find his way to the top, but on those provisional points, Jordan Ross looks to be 11 points clear of Walker, despite where Wayne Walker runs right now. 42 laps, 150 kilometers of the Sachsenring. Wayne Walker is the winner, but Jordan Ross, he knew what he needed to do. He's executed it perfectly, and he's the season 25 champion. Another back-to-back championship for Jordan Ross. Sean McNamara, who led early, finishes in 3rd. A lot of time dropped in the last couple of laps from Jordan Ross. I wonder if he was managing some fuel at the end there.
Yeah, look, I think he may have just backed off knowing a bit about the championship situation, but either way, he is our champion-elect. Now we're watching Travis Hunt and Christopher Burridge battle their way to the finish line here for 8th and 9th. They will come across the line there to finish their season 25 off here. And we talked about
some time with the whole Christian Smart stuff, and that put Christopher Burridge back on his case.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. So he's managed to hold him off. We're going to watch Chris Dow come across the line here, plus 16 on where he started. So that strategy of the two compulsory pits off. Dino's out of fuel as he limps across the finish line. That is an unfortunate one, and the uphill lead into the start-finish line would have killed him there.
He lost 2 or 3 spots to it. Might have lost a couple of spots to managing the fuel before that as well. 29.3 on that final lap for Dean Flavel, a couple of seconds lost. So this is a look backwards at Christian Smart battling with Travis Hunt. I think it's that thing that happens sometimes where the driver in front gets a little bit of wheel spin, and then that slows them up. The driver behind makes contact with them that exacerbates the slide that the driver in front's already in. Travis Hunt gives him a little one and then gives him a big one.
So I have a funny feeling we will see these provisional results change a little bit with some penalties. Unfortunate there because Hunt and Smart had both had good races, and it's just to happen so late in the race, but that's all right. This is racing, these things happen. A pretty good race out there by most competitors, and not to mention our championship top 3.
So this is how they've crossed the finish line. Wayne Walker, race winner for the 4th time this season. Jordan Ross completing a strong middle of the season, consistent results at the start, and everything he needed to do at the end of the season, he did to become champion. Sean McNamara has finished 3rd, which I think gives him 3rd in the championship as well. Paul Young, strong all season, gets another top 5 result in 4th, with Justin McLean there in 5th. Sean Van der Meulen, Michael Stewart, Travis Hunt, Christopher Burridge, and David Kirby completing top 10. A couple of drivers with some big spots gained in a chaotic Sachsenring race. Jeff Thomas in 11th, up many spots. Michael Whiting, Damien Cairns, Andrew Rushworth, Christian Smart, John Gallen, Robert Crisdale, Ray Smith, Wayne Walker, and Hillel Cesar completing what's basically the top half of the field.
And then we've got Luke Allman in 21st, John Latham in 22nd, Dean Flavel ended up 23rd after running out of fuel there, Stephen Kennedy in 24th, Reese DeGoey 25th, Brad Doble 26th, Greg Sharp 27th, Gary Buckland 28th, Darren Goosey 29th, and Ken Latta 30th. And rounding out our field here for the last race of Season 25 of the RaceKraft V8 Veterans Championship is 31st, Dan Hall, David Nash in 32nd, Matt Brunt in 33rd, Dean Logsdale 34th, Lorne McKee 35th, and Mark Poynton in 36th. And then we'll have our non-finishers for the night in Chris Miller and Jamie McKnight rounding out this 38 car field.
Well, the last race of the season is completed. The champion is crowned. And we'll look to speak to our podium drivers who, through no coincidence, are also our top 3 in the championship. Sean McNamara is going to join us right now. Well, congratulations on a great season, but when did the luck of the retro livery run out?
I don't really know. I don't know. Just the race pace has been strong. I just haven't qualified the car very well. So I think as the season goes on, I know we're all here for a bit of fun, but you start putting a bit more pressure on yourself. So just not converting in quali. So able to race forward pretty well, but doesn't mean anything if you give up 3 or 4 seconds to these guys. So is what it is. Race pace is really similar to the leaders every time, but when you give away 3 or 4 grid spots at the start, it's really hard with no safety car to claw that back. But good season nonetheless. Had an absolute blast.
Been a season with lots of strategy variation, different lengths of races. We had the sprint format at Thruxton. We had only one set of tyres at Belle Isle, and now here we have a short race with an uncapped fuel tank. It's wide open for you to select your strategy from. So what did you consider?
Yeah, I think I went early. I probably was going to go a little bit earlier, but this track I actually enjoyed the format. Shorter race with the big tank gives you that flexibility. I think a big tank with a longer race, it takes away that little. It doesn't take it away, but you could drop 20 litres in here or 50 litres, and it really opened up the opportunity to, if there was an early safety car and you had that stop out of the way, you could get the second stop done and potentially get that one stop advantage. So I enjoyed this format. It was, it was good. So, the other ones as well. The one tyre format was good. Thruxton was fun, as frustrating as that track was. That was a fun one. But I think the vets in general this season have done a really good job at changing it up and trying some different things. And I feel like finally it's been well received by the community as well. So, it's really good to see, and be interesting to see what next season's like.
Bit of rain even here and there sprinkled throughout the season.
Love that. It's good. It's nice that we don't. I think I've heard there might be a little bit more rain next season. But it's good that it doesn't get overused. But it's fun. And I like how the vets crew do it. And it's a little bit of a wet start to maybe a dry start and things like that. So it's been good fun this season, and it's been mega battling with Jordan and Wayne as well. It was good to see Paul back in tonight, having a good run as well. So look out next season for him.
Your flirt with championship contention, does it drive you to work just a little bit harder next season?
I think same philosophy. Just have fun. It's just good fun being around everyone. It was nice to have a good run this year. Came out of the box strong, but I was really just chilled, not doing a lot of laps and having fun. And I think as the season went on, I just, like I said, just got a little bit more serious with it, as much as we don't like to admit it. I'll be back to have a proper crack again next season. It's always a bit harder over that, call it festive season. Busy with holidays and work and all sorts of different stuff. But I'll be back to have red hot crack. Calendar looks pretty cool for next season. And we'll see how it all shapes up.
Well, exciting. Great to have you as a part of it. Great to chat always. And best of luck with your festive season and the new season.
Yeah, you too. You too, mate. And Brock and Dan and everyone else that's helped through the season. The Vets crew, amazing. Congrats to Jordan on the championship. Wayne would have been damn close to get me for P2 if he had picked up a clean round. So well done to him as well. He's had a mega year. It's going to be awesome next season. And well done to my boys. Shout out. They're just getting stronger and stronger. I think we had I think we were all in the top 10 tonight for qualifying, and just a bit of bad luck dropped Dean out. But I'm excited for those boys next season. It should be an absolute belter. And thanks to all our partners and sponsors. And really looking forward to next season.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Well, we got to sort of perhaps tweak with my usual order here, Brock, because I think we need to go to our championship second and race winner now.
I I think that's appropriate. Wayne Walker, welcome to the box, mate. Congratulations on your 4th race win in 5 races and what has been an excellent charge for the end of your season, mate. Look, talk us through your mindset going into tonight. Obviously, there was a sniff of the championship coming through. If it could all work out your way, how did you approach this final round?
Yeah, just trying to put it on pole, which I did, and then it was, yeah, just try and lead every lap, but that wasn't the case. I let Jordan through, or not let him through, but he sort of snuck up the inside. I didn't sort of want to fight him, so I let him through, and then yeah, just sort of tried to sit behind him, and then I sort of knew after the first pit stop I took a bit more fuel than what he did, so I knew if I caught up to him, then when we pitted I'd jump in the pits, and yeah, that's what happened, and was able to pull away. But yeah, it was pretty much just trying to put it on pole, win the race, and get as many bonus points, and then it was up to Jordan and Sean to make a mistake, and yeah, it didn't happen.
Now, look, in saying that, Wayne, you've got to be pretty proud of yourself, mate, because I know earlier in the season it was a bit rough. You were involved in some incidents, and we don't need to relive those here tonight. But your form in the back end of this season to finish this has been excellent. So, do you take a bit of pride, a bit of confidence in the fact that you finished this one strong, and obviously carry that through to what will be season 26 of the V8 Vets next season?
Oh yeah, for sure. To get 4 wins out of the last 5 races, it's to beat guys like Jordan and Sean. Yeah, I'm stoked with that result. So I just hope I can carry it on next season, not have such a bad start.
I reckon you've got it in you, mate. Now look, I'm going to ask a bit of a left field question here, because I reckon you'll have a moment in mind from this season with the highs and lows you've experienced. What's one of your favourite moments of this V8 Vets season that's given you the most confidence and excitement while you've been racing this supercar?
Oh, I don't know. There's too many. I don't know. Just the new tracks. I always like the new tracks, like Mexico and then here again. Yeah, I don't know. Probably even tonight, like new track. Yeah, just trying to get used to it and outpace everyone else.
Well, you certainly did that tonight, Wayne. Now, look, well done on a strong season, mate. You came on strong, and second in the championship is a great job. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to shout out or thank in this final round of the season?
Yeah, same as always. Everyone from the league, everyone who helps run it, race control, you guys for the broadcast. Like, you do an amazing job every week. Jordan and Sean, like, yeah, racing them, it's good, it's hard, it's clean. All the other competitors as well, without them it's not sort of possible. Be a bit boring driving around by yourself. Yeah, my teammates as well from Accelerate Sim Racing for all their help. Yeah, and our sponsors, Abbey Timber, Primal Wheels, Box and Lock Narang, and Modern Deck. That's about it.
Beauty, mate. We love it. Well done this season. We look forward to seeing you come firing out of the gates in season 26.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, David, I reckon it's time to bring in our champion and second place finisher tonight, Jordan Ross.
In the blue, Synergy Sim Racing Mustang, the 4-time back-to-back V8 Vets champion. I'm putting a lot of mayo on it. Congratulations, Jordan Ross.
Hey, mate, that was a fair intro. Yeah, it was a cool season. You can see lots of guys coming through, particularly Wayne and Sean. So it's just going to get tougher and tougher, which is awesome for Vets. going from strength to strength. So it's really cool, mate. Really enjoying it, and can't wait for next season because I reckon it'll be a even tougher battle than it was this one.
Right at the end there, a little bit of fuel concern in this race. Your pace just dipping a tiny bit.
I put my back out today, and I was struggling there at the end, mate, to push the brake pedal. So, it was just I was just out of puff, mate. So it was just trying to get it at the finish line, actually. But I had plenty of fuel.
Usman, do you think you're going to be fit for the GABA test then?
I'll be probably drink fit, but probably not fit to run out in the middle, mate.
No, fair consideration. And big wide strategy window, and Sean McNamara told us he likes that. How did you find it?
It was cool. So, first of all, it's a cool track. There's been lots of cool track selections this season, and I got this track a couple of nights ago. I sort of waited for Pro Series Bathurst to be over and then got this one. And mate, when I first dropped onto the track a couple of nights ago, I was a little bit scared because I was like a second and a half or something off, and it was one of those tracks where you really had to get the line because it had a lot of flow. But the strategy was it was pretty wide open. You could do a lot with the strategy. Like you could get home from lap 1 if you filled up. Obviously you had to do 2 CPS, but yeah, there was a big wide fuel strat. And to be honest, I don't really know what I did. I just sort of the strategy was just to come home in front of P8 tonight, and so I just sort of pitted when the other guys did, and I ended up P2.
Yeah, and so with that sort of shorter first stop, you did end up in a bit of traffic. Would you have done that differently?
Yeah, to be honest, that probably wasn't good preparation on my part. I should have had my JRT on and been looking at it and see where I would have popped out. But yeah, it probably cost me a second or two. But mate, Wayne just he drove up to the back of me anyway, so he was quicker tonight, deserved the win. He's been quick on heaps of occasions this year, so he thoroughly deserved the win. I don't think I probably would have had anything for him anyway, even if I retained track position, if I didn't get in that kerfuffle with those cars when I come out from my stop. So yeah, mate, I'll just have to pull my socks up for next season, and it should be a mega battle, I reckon, with Wayne and Sean, and also Sean Vandermeulen and Michael Stewart, Justin McLean, Paul Young. All these guys are really quick now and keeping us on us, so it's pretty cool.
You're going to be petitioning iRacing to slow down the release of new content?
Mate, not Adelaide. Looking forward to it. I think everyone's looking forward to it, so can't wait. Hopefully I hear that might be round 1 next season or something like that, so if it is, can't wait. But yeah, I'm looking at the calendar for next season, and there's quite a few traditional tracks on there. I don't think there's any track I haven't driven before, whereas this season there was like 3 or 4 tracks I've never driven. So that'll be a welcome change for me. Workload will be a little bit less.
Well, we've covered all of this multiple times throughout the season. Your multiple champions in RaceKraft V8 Vets. Is there anyone knocking on the door of 40 that you've kind of got an eye on? Who's coming that we might need to worry about?
I think Brian Borg is knocking on the door. I think he's in next season maybe. He'll be right up there and quick, but I think you probably don't need to look outside who's coming in. I think there's guys here like Wayne Walker. He's obviously mega quick, so he's legit. Probably Pro Series standard guy. He's very quick. So work's cut out for us next season. And we were just speaking in the green room, Sean and Wayne and myself, and we were all sort of pumped for next season. We reckon it's going to be a good one. And the more competitive guys like right up the front that'll get in here. They'll be able to, take wins off us, and it'll sort of shake things up a bit, I think. So should be good.
Well, we can't wait, and once again need to offer our congratulations to you. And you rightly point out that the level at the top here of Split 1 keeps rising, and you're part of the reason it's risen over the last couple of seasons. But this is probably the closest I think that they've run you.
Oh, 100%, mate. Like I said, their prep has been really good, and so next year I'm not doing Pro Series any further, so I'll be able to put a bit more time into prepping for this. So it's at that level now where you need to do quite a bit of prep if you want to win races and be up the front. There's more guys coming. I think Hobbo's only a couple of years off coming in, so we might have a few more synergy cars in here, which will be cool.
Oh, you're still 10 years safe from Brock Caddo coming for your crown.
Oh, lucky me. Shaking in my boots.
Well, again, thanks so much. Congratulations, and look forward to seeing you next season and next year, Jordan.
Thanks, guys, and thanks you guys for turning up every Thursday and putting on the show, and obviously all the organisers. They do a mega job. Heaps of people in these leagues, all 4 splits and all sorts of stuff. So it's a big workload for them, but they do a really good job, and keeps us coming back each week and looking forward to it. So thanks to them, and obviously thanks to all the competitors, and congrats Sean. He pushed me all the way in the championship, and obviously congrats all the other guys who got podiums and good results through the season. Sorry. See ya.
Jordan Ross joining us post the championship finale with another notch in his belt there. What a season it's been for him, Brock.
Excellent season for Jordan. I don't think he has dropped any pace whatsoever, but I really think he has leveled up the pace and commitment of some of the drivers around him in V8 Vets, and this has been our most competitive season in the last couple, and it truly has shown with the likes of Walker and McNamara in particular, taking it to Jordan Ross. Like, that gap, 11 points at the end of this season, is not much, and I reckon next season we're going to have a really great battle on our hands. Notwithstanding, David, don't put a target on my back with one Mr. J. Ross in 10 years' time. In 10 years' time, he's probably still going to have the oodles of supercars pace underneath him too.
Yeah, and what cars will supercars be racing in 10 years' time? something to think about. I can't wait for the Chevrolet Silverado supercar to be battling the Ford F-150 Lightning supercar. So that's our top 10 as you've just seen them. Jordan Ross just ahead of Wayne Walker and Sean McNamara. Some other new entrants inside of the top 10 as well. Very close and very competitive season of RaceKraft V8 Vets Championship. Undoubtedly, there'll be some new drivers coming in next season. There might be some promotions out of Split 2 as well as they look to get that underway. Seems like the 18th of December is tentatively penciled in as the beginning of the new season, and then it goes on break over Christmas and New Year, and we'll come back in January to run through February and to a finale the first Thursday in March. Congratulations to everyone who's been a part of putting this championship on this season. Just about to say, let's get to our driver of the day. I wasn't gonna forget. You got a nomination, Brock?
Look, I was watching Jeff Thomas through most of that race, and I did like. I know we've seen him qualify a bit higher, but he did work his way through fairly cleanly. I think he ended up plus 19 on the night, so I reckon I'm backing him as our driver of the day today.
Right, let's back in the number 43 from JWM, Jeff Thomas. He's stuck with the Mustang while his teammate Travis Hunt went back over to the Camaro, but he's 19 positions gained, and that makes him the M1 used cars driver of the day from the finale at the Sachsenring.
Yeah, great way to finish the championship for him.
And the championship will be back, and so will we on the 18th of December. We'll see what comes out in the new build. Could be Phillip Island to open the season. Could be the Adelaide Street Circuit. Looking forward to that. You'll see it here on SimSpeed TV, so make sure wherever you're watching, you're following us so you don't miss a thing. Rockade with me, David Haynes and Daniel Yeaman, as we sign off the season of RaceKraft Simulation V8 Vets, with support from Logitech G, Nova Sim Sports, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Player One Sim Gear, LGC Images, M1 Used Cars, and SudSpeed. We'll catch you for season 26.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.